song float on a windless street, got hiding on my best to break. Till now, Chase fans wanted Allen said, wanted me to get a new crew chief. Critics said, Chase is done. Chase is done, doesn't care anymore. Well, here I am, with a checkered flag sticker.
Welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Happy Hour. Bryan Nolen here with you alongside Pit Lane CPT, Mr. Dalton Hopkins, M_Massie 22, Mr. Michael Massie himself, and one of our favorites from altdriver.com, Mr. John Newby. First off, let's dive in with our guest. John, how are you, buddy? How's it going?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. Mr. Michael
Great.
Massie, your weather, just an FYI to everybody, Michael Massie's weather is a little spotty, so he may be dying on us a couple of times, but right now he's here. So Massie, I hope you're surviving in the crazy thunderstorms you're getting.
Yeah, me too. It's gone out several times. I was able to get back in the stream right as we were starting. And for those of you that don't know that song I just did, that was a cover of Song to the Siren by Tim Buckley, except it was Song to the Siren, because they had that siren sounding down in Dawsonville this past week.
Massey hears sirens all the time because he lives out in the middle of nowhere, and that's why his internet's always shoddy.
And that is the beautiful tone of Mr. Dalton Hopkins. Mr. Hopkins, how are you, sir? How is the great state of Florida accompanying you this evening?
Hot.
Hot?
It's really hot, Brian.
Brother,
It's always hot here. It will never not be hot.
It is currently
Why?
99 degrees here in Idaho, so I really do not want to hear it right now, brother.
You know what? You know what? All right. I can't. I actually cannot. I can't compete against that. Why? How is that even possible? I don't think
Yeah.
it's possible.
It's that dry heat in Boise, though.
Newbie,
Yeah,
you
that's
didn't
fair.
know? Oh, God. Newbie, you didn't need to say that. I was trying to.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's discounted. That's like 10 degrees cooler then. So I think I've got you beat there then.
Whatever, but
It could be 60 and the humidity will make you sweat.
Yeah. It's like
fair
that's like English humid. That's like English like heat. It's like not really all that hot.
Well, one thing that was hot, though, that was, I think, people's coverage of Amazon Prime and how we were going to miss it. Well, TNT arrived, and I don't think they really missed anything from Prime besides maybe full-screen commercials. John, you had a great article about the TNT broadcast, and you wanted to dive into their first telecast since they came back.
Yes, thank you for reading. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
So during the race weekend at Echo Park Speedway, which I keep forgetting to call that, I sat down with the head of content at TNT Sports, Craig Berry, and this dude's been running content there for, I don't know, like 15 years now, something like that. We discussed all the different stuff that goes into, their 5 weeks on the schedule, and there's a bunch of different interesting things he told me. One, like they're leaning really hard into that Bleacher Report House of Highlights segment, trying to get the young audiences kind of drawn in, like more the casual people, really utilizing like Mamba Smith and all of those people. He said they really want to get the funnel of influencers to get, the same thing they do with like, oh, Steph Curry's shooting, free throws in his driveway. Let's go shoot that with an iPhone, just get that posted on social media, that type of situation. And then we also talked a lot about the drawbacks of network TV as opposed to streaming. They don't have the luxury of 100 laps of green flag action without any commercials like Amazon Prime does or Prime Video. So they have to kind of balance, the same things that NBC and Fox do, which is when are we going to run commercials? What type of commercials are we going to run? Are we going to do side by side? Are we going to do full screen? Are we going to do like a sponsored segment with a sponsor logo while there's just no commentary and it's just race action? And I thought it was kind of interesting that he said he does not like doing side-by-side commercials. He thinks that's more disruptive than going away for a full screen commercial break and then coming back. And I see that Dalton has some great thoughts on this matter once I finish my explanation. And honestly, I personally do not agree with him because I'd much rather have, an Applebee's commercial playing while I'm watching somebody wrecking in the corner of the screen, because that way at least I see what's happening. I don't want to come back from a commercial and be like, oh, there's a 23 car pileup. What happened? So, but I know that's just everyone has different opinions on that. So, Dalton, I would love to hear yours just because of your turning bright red.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. I'm sure he's got some solid arguments about why he prefers the full. Look, I genuinely don't believe there's anything more disruptive than actual full screen commercial. I don't really know. That's because the disruption is complete. It's 100%. You're not getting any kind of information about the race during a full screen commercial. At least when you have the side by side, you're actually able to watch the race, and not to mention you're also paying. I mean, you're paying a little bit of attention to the actual ad itself. You can't help it. I mean, whether it's audio or you can't help it. You can't stop it. I think that works. It's beneficial for both. For both parties, both the advertisement companies and the actual people watching the race. So I disagree with that. I think there were a couple moments that I feel like we would have missed if it weren't for the side-by-side commercials, but I would love to hear more about that argument and why that is possibly an opinion. It actually scares me a little bit, though.
One
Yeah.
thing that he did mention, I don't know how this will affect things moving forward. I know he said it's a fluid situation that they're having ongoing conversations with their advertisers, figuring out different ways that they can, innovate, getting their logos out there. So there is a possibility it could change to have more of how Fox does hey, it's the Toyota whatever segment where
Yes.
there's Toyota logos and there's just racing going on. There's a possibility something like that could happen in the future. It seemed very fluid. Those are just the comments he gave me hours before their first broadcast.
If Cinnamon Toast Crunch wanted to come onto the broadcast and be like, "It's time for the Cinnamon Toast Crunch update," and they just follow Chris Buescher for 10 laps, 100% okay with that. I'm 1,000.
Says Chris Buescher.
Okay, all right, that was a bad example. That's a good point, but okay. What's another sponsor? Arby's. If Arby's wanted to come, oh my God, if Arby's wants to come in this weekend and be like, it's time for the Arby's update. We just follow Cody Ware for 3 laps. Then okay, fine, whatever. At least I'm still watching the race, and now I kind of want to try the Arby's, the new Philly steak or whatever they've got.
I had that for dinner and it's amazing. I showed it to Nolan before we went on air. I had it for dinner.
Thank you, disembodied voice.
I thought that was the voice of God for a second.
Wow. God is a fan of Arby's. You heard it here.
Shout out God. Shout out God.
I would say, first off, I'll say the Fox portion of the season got me really tired of Ride the Dente. At first, I was really on board with it, but then when you interrupted racing it seemed like they just showed them back after back. You're like, there's nothing but Ride the Dente commercials, just 3 minutes straight. And it just, oh man, I got tired of it. But the whole side by side versus full commercials, it doesn't bother me a whole lot. Now, of course, I'd prefer the whole race to be commercial free, like F1. But I know we're never going to get that. But I find most of the time when they go side by side, when there's not, he made a good point that when there's not audio to it, I kind of zone out anyways. Now, if somebody wrecks or something, yeah, that's great. I'm seeing that there. So that part's helpful. But when they're just running single file, I'm not really paying attention. I'm more drawn to the commercial over there that's in a bigger frame than the actual racing. So it's not a huge thing. But I'd say overall the TNT broadcast, I mean, it was a bold choice to have Kyle Petty replace Benny Parsons on there. Oh wait, I got the wrong year for that. It, I think they were really good. I think it was somewhere in the middle. It was Fox has put the bar down here, down low for people listening. And
lower
Prime
than the whole screen. Okay.
then Prime has put the bar way up high. And then TNT was just kind of an average broadcast. Like I noticed mistakes here and there, such as like their graphics, which maybe that's just a week one thing. Like the stage results, it looked like they went to show the stage results and then just nothing happened. And then Adam Alexander quickly read off the 1 through 10 finishers as music was overbearing him, the commercial music to fade out. So it's just little things like that, which maybe they'll get better. It was their first broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm excited with all the, like you said, John, the stuff like the alt cast. I'd love to check that out one of these times, especially if they get Chipper Jones on one of them, like Larry Mack mentioned on Door Bumper Clear, then I might tune into that one. And just to hear him just bash Joey Logano for 3 hours. Like the Bleacher Report stuff. It's all really cool stuff. So I'm excited to see where they take it.
Yeah, a couple of things. I think it also shows, and looking at our comments on our YouTubes, our guy James Krause said that's incredible. Kyle Petty right now probably says that is incredible. Getting compared to the late Benny Parsons, but I think, and John, it also reiterated to me that you can still have a post race show even if you do have a delay. Like TNT still had a post race show, and they had 2 red flags. And this is on. I know it's not network TV because it's on quote unquote cable. But I mean, you can still have a good post race show like Parker and Jamie Mack and Shannon Spake did. I mean, they did good there. Obviously Mambo is part of the alt cast, but we really didn't get to see him. But I love seeing Alan Cavana back on pit road. That guy's one of the best in the business. I actually got to shadow him 2019 in Dover when he was part of the Truck Series, and I've always had a good relationship with him. So he's really, really good. And then obviously Danielle Trotta is awesome too. So I was impressed with it. Obviously, the only diss I think from Amazon was, they kept on buffering and everything. It's all I don't got a smart TV. Well, you got to get with the times. I'm sorry, but you got to get with the times. But I thought it was fun. I thought it was good. Obviously they got stuff to work on, but I don't think it's as good as Prime, but I don't think it's as unfortunately bad as Fox is now. But I thought it was good, John.
There is one final thing I want to say that you will specifically appreciate, because he said that they are in the business of trying to showcase some of the personalities of, drivers you don't necessarily see, which, is something that they can do with like their alt cast or their social media channels. And we went back to, it was a few years ago when a young fresh-faced Quinnen Williams sat down with Bleacher Report and recreated a bunch of memes, like sipping the tea and eating the popcorn.
Sir. Yes, sir.
And, he said that was a good example of, stuff that they could do. And I was like, well, hey, I mean, I still love that series of videos, and I still use those Quinnen Williams memes when I text people randomly. So as a Jets fan, that's going to be good news for you.
John, I literally, if you don't send me a Quinnen Williams meme in the next week, I'm going to be disappointed in you.
I got you.
Okay.
I don't want, before we move on, I don't want anybody ever to complain about how, especially people who didn't like Prime, to complain about how, I don't know how the streaming works. I don't know how all the stuff works. And then we just had one of the lowest rating races on a network that is available to most people with cable, with TNT. I don't understand.
They're going to blame it being on a Saturday night, Dalton.
That's okay, great. But it's still one of the lowest Saturday night races that we've had in a while, too. So, and Amazon Prime was still much higher than that, especially in the age graphic.
Well, it didn't include max numbers.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
Oh, it didn't. Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
So I'm curious how many people watched on Max.
I am too.
I know my wife streamed it on Max when I was at the track.
So it's different for me because I have my iPad. I have the in-car cameras from Max on my iPad, and then on my TV I have the TNT broadcast. So it's a little. So people could be doing that. People could just be streaming it, but it's something to watch. Last thing, James wrote on our on YouTube. Adam Alexander deserves a lot of credit for what he's done this year. He's as great as he is, and honestly, like I've known Adam 5 or 6 years. He was one of my first ever interviews that I did one-on-one, and he's as amazing as a person as he is as a broadcaster. And I think Ryan Blaney said it best. Like Ryan Blaney was on DBC and was just beyond complimentary of Double A, and just the amount of knowledge that he has and the ability to work with different people. I mean, he was working with Jim McMurray, Parker Kligerman, Dale, Steve, and then all the rotating Cup drivers in Xfinity Series. I mean, it's so hard to gather that the repertoire, the camaraderie with your announcers. It's fantastic.
Brian, one more thing I just want to add. If this is a request, okay, for TNT and Max, all right, for their coverage. We have this in-season bracket tournament. Why do we not have that being displayed on the ticker at all times? Like, why don't we have like a color-coded, like if one driver is facing against another driver, why are they not like the same color on the ticker? And that way we can track who's ahead of who. Because I thought, and you can check this out on our watch along or ride along or whatever the watch along. Yes, Trey and I were watching, or Caleb and I were watching, and we both thought the same thing. We both thought that's what they were doing. And it wasn't until like 15 minutes later we were like, "Oh wait, that's just the color of the car," because that has nothing to do with it. That's what we thought. Why are we not doing that? Like that should be a graphic. Because if we want to push this out, which I don't feel like we're doing enough of, why are we not having that graphic on the ticker?
Yeah, I spent the first stage trying to figure out what the colors next to the names meant. And then I was just like, I guess they don't mean anything. I don't know.
It's just the color of the paint scheme. That's all it was.
During these full screen commercials, you know what fans should do? They should pull up that front stretch watch party and mute your TV and listen to the front stretch watch party. And there's your plug for you.
Give you live updates.
Well, that's hot. That is. Last thing, Matthew Jansen said, apparently Jamie Little mentioned that Prime can share screens across geolocation, so that it's a shareable stream service. So, I mean, you can share. I mean, like, my mom can share, like, Amazon Prime and everything. So, I mean, it'd be hard to figure out, like, how many people are watching Max. I don't know how all the stuff works. So, a little bit interesting. Let's dive on into our next topic. Massie, what did you want to dive into on this Tuesday night, brother?
Well, I don't think we
take a look at the list.
For each other. So let me pull something from this.
Pull up the list because we didn't assign topics this week.
While he is pulling up the list, this show is presented by My Place Hotels. 10% off your next stay. Luscious bed, pet-friendly rooms. Once again, the promo code is FRONTSTRETCH. 10% off your next day. We all used it. Well, the three of us. Sorry, John. We used it for the Indy 500 weekend. It was fantastic. Highly recommend.
I used it for Nashville also.
There you go.
And I love it. I've used it twice this year, and I've loved it each time.
Love it. Once again, My Place Hotel, promo code FRONTSTRETCH. Massie, did I give you enough time, brother?
Yeah, you did. So we had some breaking news not too long before we went live here, and that is that Trackhouse Racing, Daniel Suarez, they are parting ways at the end of the year. Suarez was Trackhouse's first driver. He's won twice for them, but this year hasn't really gone the way I think either one wanted, and they will not be together next year. First off, I want to say the comments. I looked at our article on it and like on social media that all the replies are like, "Oh, so Zillage is getting that ride," and I just want to ask you guys. First off, what do you make of Daniel Suarez's departure? Where do you think he'll go? Cup, back down to another level? I don't know. And who do we think is going to replace him in that car?
John, what do you think?
Yeah, John.
Yeah, John.
Well,
Yeah, John.
Jeez, put me on the spot.
Answer now.
Well, as a rider, I'm personally going to miss having him in the Cup Series bullpen media sessions because he's one of the best interviews there are. I mean, while some drivers will purposely try to hide in the corner and have their PR people be like, you got 2 questions. All right, we're done. He'll sit there as long as he possibly can, just talk to you about anything. Just whatever it is, does not matter. He's one of the best people to talk to in the entire garage. So I'm sad that he's not there. Yeah, that's a good point, Brian. He has gotten better, though.
True, not wrong.
I do think that this is just paving the way for Connor Zilic to get into that car. They haven't announced it, but with the progress that he's made as a rookie in the Xfinity Series, winning at Pocono, winning road course, winning the pole multiple times, coming back from a back injury and still running well, it's pretty much setting up for it. Do I think he's ready for Cup? I mean, honestly, it just kind of depends because the races he's been in have gone a little screwy, like having a weird failure and slamming into Daniel Suarez at Coda, getting caught up in other wrecks and other races. But it appears that he's going to be the one who takes over the 99. And then as far as Suarez goes, I mean, there's not a lot of options because if you look at everybody, everyone is pretty much set, minus, whatever happens with this Rick Ware sale to TJ Pouchier and them wanting to expand. I mean, yes, they could have a seat, but that seems like, no disrespect to them, but until you see what the moves that TJ is going to make over at Rick Ware Racing, it would be a little bit of a downgrade. So I think that the logical route would be for him to drop back down to a really good car in Xfinity, go try to win a bunch of races, try to win a championship like, Cole Custer did or like Nemechek did in the Truck Series, and then see what seats open up after the 2026 season because there could be more openings that way with drivers potentially retiring, other drivers potentially, contracts expiring. So yeah, what do you guys think?
I think when it comes to what Daniel has really meant to Trackhouse, I mean, he was the first driver, right? It's really hard to see a driver that leaves, but the first thing that really pops in my mind, the first thing that I saw when it came to this announcement was the mutually agreed to part ways, which tells me that Daniel might have seen the writing on the wall, and maybe he was already looking around to see if he's got something secure for next season, which this all tells me that maybe he has secured something for next season. So I'm really curious to see what happens. As far as the Cup Series or Xfinity Series, I like Daniel in the Cup Series. I think he is a fantastic ambassador, especially for the Mexican community. He's been wonderful. He's actually competitive. He's won races. I would not mind seeing him go back down to Xfinity and start winning races there again too. And that's because I think he could actually do it. I really do think he'd be very competitive there, and he would be just as good as ambassador for the Spanish, Mexican, American community that he is in the Cup Series.
For me, a couple of things here, and Denver Thurston, who's watching on our YouTube, said SVG and Connor Zilic got Red Bull money. I have a lot of respect for Daniel Suarez as a driver, but doesn't have the Red Bull money. But the thing is, and John, you may laugh though, that's kind of a point. I mean,
it is a good point.
It's a great point.
I think I don't know who this Daniel Suarez guy is, but he sounds pretty okay. He sounds very talented.
Well, I've heard Suarez has money behind him too, though. So,
but Red Bull, I mean, Red Bull's got money though.
Yeah,
he's got support. Maybe not. I don't know about money, but he's got support.
But
I don't know if Quaker State's the same as Red Bull.
And here's the thing: the Zilic is backing it up, and no disrespect to Suarez though, but I mean, time in and time again, and everybody's like, "Oh, Zilich can only win on a road course. He won at Pocono. Oh, he can't win on an oval." Technically, you're right, but I mean, he's getting better and better and better. And I do feel like the writing is on the wall when you see like Suarez crashing out and Zilich surviving on Saturday and ended up finishing 11th. I mean, sure he wasn't in contention to win. He still ended up surviving, and James Krause said, I wonder if he ran that Xfinity race with Junior Motorsports and thought, oh, I can work comfortably here. That led to his mutual. Honestly,
that's a good point. And honestly, that's what I was thinking of.
Honestly, John, why don't they just do the switch? Connor Zilich for Daniel Suarez.
Honestly, it would be I don't want to say a great move, but it would be a winning move because in that Junior Motorsports equipment, he could win a lot of races.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because there's some really good drivers in the Xfinity Series, but Daniel Suarez is also a really good driver and who's won on a bunch of different types of tracks. So
I think he's already an Xfinity champion.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like if you look at the different tracks that he's won at, I mean, I think he could find a lot of success if they did that swap.
I mean, sorry, Matt. Last thing here before. I mean, the writing kind of was on the wall. I don't know how much involvement Pitbull had, but like once Pitbull left, everyone was like, "Oh, is Suarez on the hot seat?" And then Zilich started to get really, really hot and everything, and then he started winning and winning and winning. I think it was just one thing after another, just led to this, Massie.
Yeah, if Pitbull was still there, I don't know. We might see him kick Suarez out for Nick Sanchez, fellow Cuban in there.
Yeah, he would have been bringing it back, bringing it back. Dale, Mr. 305.
But yeah, I think it was a condemning few weeks for Suarez, and that yes, Zilich won at Pocono. I mean, they should have had Zilich start the race at Texas and then put Larson to get in the car like lap 30. And then you could say Zilich wanted an oval as well at this point. And then he went to Mexico City and Atlanta, which are two tracks where you really expect Suarez to do well at. And he didn't really do a whole lot. So I think that, and like you look at the points, he's 29th in points. SVG is 32nd in points with way less oval experience. SVG only trails him by 31 points. Like that's not great. This is Suarez's 10th year in Cup. It doesn't seem like he's been around that long. And I think he's entering the Elliott Sadler phase of his career. Sadler had been in Cup for a little over 10 years when he went back down. I do agree, John, if he does go anywhere in Cup, it could be that TJ, how do you say it? I want to say puncher every time I see his name.
Is it like Puchar?
I butcher it every time.
Here.
But yeah, that would be the only option because, you know, like the team said they were committed to Cody Ware, but if Ware isn't owning the team, why are they going to keep Cody in the car? I don't know. But I don't know. We've seen Suarez on the ropes before when he got let go from Stewart-Haas Racing and he went to the Gaunt Brothers team and had that awful, awful year. I think everybody kind of thought his career was over. And then he went to Trackhouse, a brand new team. And I'll never forget, was it Brett Moffitt that replied to the news about it? That was like, and what's like, he ain't gonna do nothing there or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then he did well. He did well at first there. So I wouldn't completely count his Cup career out, but it wouldn't surprise me if his Cup days are kind of over.
Well, it's hard because he's also only 33 years old. So
yeah,
there's still a lot of time to, you know, if he drops back down to Xfinity to kind of rebuild. Like with him being in here forever, you're like, oh man, he's so old. Then you realize that he's still really young.
Last but not least, the voice of God. Did you have something you wanted to mention?
Yes, I did. So question to you guys. How much of this is the speed of Trackhouse versus Daniel Suarez himself? I know Ross Chastain won the 600. He's in the playoffs, but that was like a lights-out good car he had right there in that race. But outside of that win, Chastain hasn't really been setting the world on fire either himself.
That was a great question, God.
Thanks, God.
I mean, like Chastain. Obviously, we know that SVG is gonna be great at road courses, street courses. We all know that. But I mean, Chastain survived and won that Charlotte race. I mean, we all knew that. I mean, the three of us were in Indy, so we were like trying to stay awake after being up at like 3 a.m. But I mean, like he had to battle, and he did. He battled Byron and ended up getting that victory. I feel like just there's too many opportunities that just have not gone his way. It is something to think on, Dalton. Is it more that he's just not getting enough out of the car, or does he just not have it?
It's Suarez. It's not Trackhouse. Chastain has 8 top 10s and halfway through the season. I know we're only halfway through the season, but if he were to get 8 more top 10s and continue this trend, it would be his best season since 2022. So it's not. I'm looking at the stats right in front of me. I think this is the speed. Maybe Chastain's just really good. I don't know, but Trackhouse is just known for getting guys who are very talented and don't have a whole lot of opportunity. And SVG, clearly, he's very good on road courses. He's already in the playoffs. He's a shoo-in for the playoffs. That's why I picked him for our draft or whatever. And I'm going to get a lot of points for that. So I was right. But like he's a shoo-in for the playoffs because we knew he was going to win our road course. Ross Chastain, he's won at least one race every year since 2022. So, and Suarez hasn't. But you look at Zilich, and the kid is 19 years old, and he's tearing it up. I mean, he's tearing it up in the Xfinity Series. He's recognized internationally as a phenom. He's just this new kid. He's very exciting. He's got a lot of talent. He's like Joey Logano. What Joey Logano was when he first showed up. Everyone thought that he was sliced bread. Look at Zilich. I think he's on that same course, and it's not just because he's really good at the ovals, but he's really good at road courses too. He's great all around, and he excites. And I hate saying this. I love Daniel Suarez, and I think I hope that next year he gets a great ride and he's very successful. But he excites me. If I'm a team owner, if I'm Justin Marks, he excites me a little bit more than Daniel Suarez does.
John, before you say something, I'm going to go on a limb. He will be the next driver to attempt the double.
I can see it.
Yep.
Justin Marks wants to attempt the double, so it makes sense.
My point exactly.
My only thing is I was just going to play one little bit of devil's advocate with, if you look at Chastain, he's had Phil Surgeon as his crew chief since Chip Ganassi. And whereas Suarez has had a couple different crew chiefs now, because he had Travis Mack for a while, then he had Matt Swiderski. So I don't know if that has, like you said, Chastain is one of those drivers who can get the best out of any equipment, even if they don't have speed. But I'm curious if there were any other, roles that having multiple crew chiefs kind of played in the last few years for Suarez.
Yeah, maybe it's just like having like different offensive coordinators every single year. You just can't get into that rhythm. Obviously, it's different than like the NFL, in which you have like 18 games compared to 38 races.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, sometimes you just need to get into that rhythm. And unfortunately for Suarez, he just did not get into that rhythm. Let's move on here. Before we dive on into our next topic, My Place Hotels is a proud sponsor to be the official hotel sponsor of Front Stretch with plush beds, in-room kitchens, and pet-friendly hotels. My Place makes for the perfect pit stop when traveling. Race fans, you can use promo code Front Stretch to save 10% off your stay at any of our nationwide properties. Once again, 10% off nationwide with code Front Stretch. This racing season, be sure to make My Place your place. Once again,
have I mentioned that My Place Hotels is fantastic and that we use them for both the Indy 500 and Nashville? Brian, I don't think you said enough about My Place Hotels.
It's just fantastic.
And the Coke 600. I had them for the Coke 600. So
thank you, God.
Thanks, God.
There. Thank you. Who is this Brian guy? Where was the cool bearded guy? Well, the cool bearded guy, I don't know who that is, because Trey Lyle, you don't have a beard in your profile picture, so I'm not sure. But if you want to hear that bearded guy, you can stay tuned to Bringing the Heat with Trey Lyle coming up in your podcast feed on Thursday afternoon. He's going to have a great guest, so highly recommend that podcast. But Let's dive on into our next topic, though. I wanted to talk about Atlanta, and I think the biggest thing was this felt like Daytona and Talladega back in the good old days where we didn't have to just ride around and save fuel. So I'm just going to throw it out there. Is Atlanta the best track in NASCAR right now?
Yes. Next question.
Okay. I would like a little bit more analysis there, Mr. Hopkins.
Track, the cars, they pass, and they fun finish.
Oh, God.
There is no half throttle.
Oh.
They're side by side. The cars they do pass the other cars. And
Trey, do you want to host this podcast again now? Since
Did you watch Michigan, Dalton? Did you watch Michigan?
all right. Check it. Listen up, God. Okay, so I will say, in actuality, I actually don't think it's the best track in NASCAR. I think it's the second best. I personally believe that Kansas is actually the best track in NASCAR right now. But that's neither here nor there. I still believe that Atlanta is very the fact that back in 2022, I remember I was at that race and I actually heard fans talk about how they hated the reconfiguration. I heard drivers talking about how they hated the reconfiguration, how they ruined Atlanta, and then ever since then, it's been like the fan reaction has been fantastic. Everyone has agreed that it's put on fantastic racing each and every time. So I think it's funny how quickly we are able to change opinion over time, even though at the very first time we ever had it, everyone hated it. They all thought it was just the worst thing that they could have done to a track. So, I don't think Atlanta is the best track in NASCAR, but I do think it is maybe the most refined track in NASCAR. It is the most changed track in NASCAR, as in public opinion.
Yeah, I do enjoy it more than the end of Old Atlanta, because I know people, like the drivers, raved about the end of Old Atlanta the way it was at the end, but those races were pretty boring, where it was just Kevin Harvick just leading the whole time, riding the bottom. I mean, I appreciated like the skill aspect of it, but these are more fun, I guess. But I feel the way about the best track in NASCAR, the way, Dalton, that you feel about this guy's the championship favorite. Like, I feel like every week, every time we have a good race, this is the best track in NASCAR now. This is now the best track. Whereas, like, now this week, people are probably like, Chase Elliott's the championship favorite now because he won. Yeah, I'm sure after Mexico, there was somebody out there that's like, SVG's the championship favorite now. But because a couple of weeks ago in Michigan, we were saying that's the best track after that race. And so my thing is, it was Kansas, but Kansas this spring was pretty boring. I think it had its time, but now as the field has caught up to each other, the passing isn't as much there. I think it's somewhere in the Charlotte, Michigan. I would debate between those two. And it's just because I'm never going to put a drafting track at number one, just because I know there's skill to it, but I want more like off throttle braking, people making good moves, good strategy. I don't know. I want one where you're going to see like the best driver win, and but still be a competitive race. And I just feel like Charlotte and Michigan provide more of that than Atlanta right now. So I'm still going with one of those two over Atlanta.
I think Matthew Jansen said Darlington is the best when the temps and tires hit, but that's rare. Denver Thurston said Echo Park Speedway has a danger factor to it. Good drafting track, but if someone makes a mistake, it becomes 20-plus car junkyard. And then Noah Coleman, I think this is the best one. I look at it how it races in all series. It's fantastic at Cup, but it's not good with Xfinity, so no. And John, that is true. Like, if the Xfinity series is a banger, Cup series is not going to be good. If the Xfinity series is not the best, Cup guys are going to put on a show. I wish that we could have a racetrack that is perfect for every single series, but it is what it is.
You mean the one called Homestead Miami Speedway?
Yeah, that's true.
I forgot about that one. That's in the conversation too.
Yeah, honestly, and then even like Coda, I mean, banger finishes for the win the last 3 seasons. So I mean, like, there's so many good ones, and I just feel like we can't put after the last race, this is the best track. No, this is the best track, because there's a plethora of good tracks.
Yeah, I mean, there's.
I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
Well, say there's great tracks. I love Kansas. I love what Charlotte is now. I love Homestead. Fontana was my favorite track before they destroyed it out of spite.
Preach it, brother. Preach it.
Atlanta has some great racing right now, but to that commenter's thing, the part that does make it not the best for me is the random 20 to 23 car crashes that can happen when they're packed together like that. And like you said, the first 2 stages of Saturday's race were kind of a mess. Yeah. But then after that, it was amazing. The final stage was some great race, and I loved every second of it. But those early bits kind of took away from my enjoyment a little bit.
I think it's a good thing that we can have this debate. I know in what Massie said, it very much resonates with me in saying that, like, every time we have a good race, we say, "Oh, is this the best track in NASCAR?" Look, like I get that. I 100% get that. It's like is this the championship favorite for me? I loathe those headlines, hate them. But I will say, I think it is a good thing nowadays in NASCAR where we can go into a racetrack and say, "Is this the best track in NASCAR?" Because it happens so often. To say, "Is Kansas the best track? Is Darlington the best track? Is Atlanta the best track? Is Homestead the best track? Is I don't know. Give me another one. Actually, give me another one, please. I mean,
Texas.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't you calm down? All right.
Let's everybody take a chill pill, okay? We're going a little too far.
No, but Vegas has put on some great shows too. I mean, so I think it's a good thing we have so many tracks that we love. We're really looking forward to going to. I mean, look, we're going to Chicago this weekend, and I personally believe that is one of the best ideas the NASCAR has had in recent memory. I really do. I mean, it's been a fantastic show each time, and not to mention the fan turnout has been fantastic. It's been a really great spirit behind, a really great attitude behind it. These are good things. I mean, look back at. I often think back into 2017. Like, let's go back to 2017. We didn't have the Roval, we didn't have Coda, we didn't have Bristol Dirt before we had that. We didn't have the street race, we didn't have Mexico, we didn't have Road America or any of these other road courses that we've gone to. It was just the same regular cookie cutter tracks, and I felt like 6 times out of 10 we were going into a weekend, I was just dreading it because I was like, oh God, here we go again. We're gonna go to Kansas, we're gonna go to Texas, we're gonna go to Atlanta, but these tracks have improved. We've improved, and I don't know if you could say it's because of the car. I don't know if you could say because the competition's gotten better, or the tracks have gotten better. Regardless, the fact of the matter is that the current form of racing is better than it was 10 years ago, and I really honestly do believe that. Maybe minus a couple tracks here and there, but there is a very diverse group of tracks and racing that we've gotten in the last few years, and I do commend NASCAR for that.
Yeah. And Devin, we are on debating based on this current car that is at, and Matthew Jansen said, "You're right. NASCAR is so good everywhere right now." Sure. It is.
Maybe not everywhere.
There are some problems, the short tracks, the big super speedways, but there is.
None of us have mentioned Bartonsville at all. That's a problem.
Yeah. Throw out the car, and Darlington's the best track.
Just make it the Xfinity car.
Yeah.
Just bring the Xfinity car into the Cup Series, for the love of God, please.
Yeah, and last thing here before we move on, Denny Hamlin said something really interesting. He said the reason why the third stage was so good was because that you had the space. You had the space to have those big runs, and with all the cars that were junked up in the lap 69, nice wreck was because of all the space that you had. There wasn't 40 cars all out there. You saw the move Chase Elliott made on Brad Keselowski and the final lap to get the win, or 2 laps ago, whatever it was, to get the win. It's because he had that space. If we had all the cars out there, you would not get the runs that you saw on Saturday night, and thus we saw a fantastic third stage. First and second, a little bit of wreckfest. Third one, it can't get better than that. Let's dive on in now. Was gonna see if anyone wanted to, give me some thoughts on that. Maybe even God, but God is apparently fine with just chilling.
Look, God's got to deal with what is 6.
I am here.
Oh,
okay,
thank you, God.
6.9 billion other people.
I know. Well, maybe 9 billion other people submitted a bracket on NASCAR.com, but there are 0 brackets that are perfect. That is how you transition, people. That is how you do it. Let's dive on into our in-bracket challenge. I was not here last week. I was attending Post Malone with my lovely wife, so I gave my bracket to Mr. Trey Lyle, and I listened to it, and unfortunately for Dalton Hopkins, for Michael Massie, their winners, they gone. John Newby, is the winner of your bracket challenge still alive, or is it gone as well?
My final 2 are still alive.
Okay.
The other 2 members of my final 4 got eliminated.
Okay, who's your final 2?
Busher and Elliott.
Okay, mine was Hocevar and Josh Berry.
Ooh.
And I have Hocevar winning the entire thing, so a little bit different. But I want to dive on into the in-bracket challenge, or the in-season bracket challenge, whatever it was. There was a lot of speculation on, was it a good idea to start it at Atlanta? Because you saw all the negative of it come to be, because there's only one winner that is moving on to the second round, and 7 of the 8 in points, I want to say I heard from or on Denny Hamlin's podcast, they have been eliminated. So was it smart of NASCAR to do this? Because really interesting what Denny said. If your bracket's busted in NCAA tournament after the first round, do you really want to watch to see what happens? Maybe if you're a diehard fan, but if you're not a diehard fan, you don't really care. And there's a lot of people that's brackets are busted, so why do they even care? So Dalton, was this a smart idea for NASCAR to start the in-season tournament at Atlanta?
Well, I ask you this: how many people actually put in the time and effort to make a bracket in the first place?
Okay.
Look, I mean, I know we did, but we're a part of the community, right? I mean, we're media, so all of us took part in it, but I don't really know how many fans actually took part into making a bracket. And not to mention, why would they? Because like you said, we started at Atlanta, and I think a lot of people know that Atlanta's kind of a crapshoot. And here we are, only 1 week in, and there's no brackets left. To me, that sounds like a failure, because it's like you just said, Brian. I mean, it's like Denny Hamlin said too. There's no fan engagement. Why would I care if my bracket is no longer involved? I mean, the only time I've liked to really get invested into college basketball is during March Madness. And unfortunately, you make a bracket, some people still make it out in the end. If there's nobody here, why would you stay invested? So it's kind of counterintuitive to make it at a track where now that doesn't mean Atlanta has to be left out entirely. Maybe you can make it round 3 or round 4, because maybe it'll be a little bit easier to kind of pick and choose who could make it, because you only have 4 choices in round 4. So it could be a little bit better than what we've got right now. I don't think Atlanta is the best choice to do when you have 32 drivers to pick from, because you just never know. It's a crapshoot, and we saw that. We said it last week. And I said it last week. I don't know if anybody. I said it last week, and I've been saying it before that. So I don't really know if that's the best choice.
Dalton, I have a question for you.
What is it, God?
You mentioned the fan engagement. Do you think it might have been dead on arrival because of how they seeded it versus using the point system?
I think it was dead on arrival because nobody talked about it.
Because of the seeding or because of the tournament itself?
The tournament itself. I mean, we were. I'll tell you what, God. When I was at Pocono, all the drivers I talked to, I mean, none of them were like. I talked to Kyle Busch. Not a single person mentioned the. Maybe one guy talked about the bracket. I think that was Chase Elliott, because somebody asked him about it, and Chase was like, "I don't even know what the prize money is." How do you not know what the prize money is?
Okay, hold on though. That's Chase Elliott. He doesn't have social media. He's like
okay,
so
fine, fine. But you tell me NASCAR didn't come up to him and be like, "Hey, by the way, we have this challenge coming up in a week, and it's for $1 million," and like that's not something that he was told. Nobody was told about that. And then somebody asked Kyle Busch. I remember when I was talking to Kyle Busch, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm not even paying attention to it." Are you kidding me?
To be fair, a lot of the drivers aren't that engaged with the All-Star race either. They're just doing it because they have to. Same with the Flash.
Okay, then maybe it's not just a in-tournament problem. Maybe it's a driver problem. I don't know. The point is that it just seems like as much as NASCAR is trying to market it, and it's not NASCAR's fault. Okay, there's a lot of other things that go into it, but not enough people are talking about it. And NASCAR is marketing the crap out of it as much as they can, but I feel like TNT needs to do more, and I mentioned that earlier in the show where they could have maybe color-coded the drivers a little bit better on the ticker, but TNT needs to do a little bit more. Drivers need to do a little bit more. I was following some team social media. They were doing a great job. RFK did a great job. They were doing some trash talk. There was some trash talk, like beating a certain driver. I loved all that, but for the rest of it, it was like I kind of forgot who moved on, because we're just not talking about it enough. I need to see more.
Yeah, I think part of that problem was that Prime didn't really hype it up, which they had no reason to. It didn't impact their part of the season at all. But first off, I don't know what you're talking about. My bracket's still perfect, Brian. I totally
shut up. Just shut up.
I picked Chris Buescher, so my boy Chris Buescher's still alive.
Let's go, Hocevar, baby. Carson Hocevar. Let's go.
I have one person left in my final four, and that's Chase Elliott. The other three, and like the championship matchup, are all gone. But I think it's a fun thing. Starting it with Atlanta, I don't think was a good move. I'm with you on that, Dalton. I think you should have started with a straight up track. Started with like a Michigan or Dover or something like that. But have Atlanta is like round 2 or something, like a shake up in the middle. I think would be perfect. Just to add a little spice to it. Kind of like Talladega is in the playoff. Well, the way it was in like the round of 8 when it was in the round of 12, where it was just kind of a little shake up. Now it's in the round of 8, and I don't know how I feel about that. But getting the drivers to buy into it, I think part of that is, I'm going to say only, but it only being $1 million. These guys are already very wealthy, and I think I think Chase Elliott is totally aware of how much money Napa is going to pay him if he does X and X and X. So part of that, but it doesn't really impact the season, and it's a fun thing to follow. It really is just another kind of storyline to watch from afar and to kind of bet on, I guess, if you're a bettor. But I think if you really want the drivers to buy in, you either increase the money or just make it like 100 regular season points or something like whoever wins it gets a huge boost in points to where, someone like Ty Dillon, all of a sudden, will that bump him up like 10 spots in the points or something? Maybe not that many, but you know what I'm saying? Like, then if it's something really concrete that affects your season on the line, that might really incentivize. They might really be paying attention to it then.
I gotta chime in on that part. Actually, first off, as far as the marketing thing that Dalton mentioned, the only commercial I saw at all for this in-season challenge was one commercial during the Pocono race that had a couple drivers like, "Oh, hey, we got this in-season tournament coming up." it starts on TNT, but that was it. And then, like I talked to drivers at both Charlotte and Talladega, and yeah, Denny Hamlin was the only one who actually knew how it worked or was even remotely interested in it. The rest of them said they didn't care. They don't know how brackets work, all that different stuff. And then, Massey, I like your idea to a point. I think that you do need to get them more involved by offering better incentives. The problem is you can't do points because if you look at remotely any, and I know Twitter is a cesspool, but if you look at any comment on Twitter about this, oh, this is the dumbest gimmick. NASCAR can't fix their playoffs. They can't fix the regular season, so they have to do the stupid gimmicky thing. So if you added in the actual, points prize, people lose their minds even further about how this is just some stupid gimmick that's going to ruin the season and nothing's as good as it was back in the mid 90s. So I think that like a different approach you could take to get the drivers more involved is be like, hey, you know that sweet driver ambassador program where you get a bunch of money for promoting the sport? We'll give you bonus points if you promote this in-season tournament. And that way you guys can, compete with Joey Logano in his weekly Sirius XM appearances. And then I think that way you'd have drivers more involved in hyping up the in-season tournament. And I think that could get a little bit better return. But, I mean, Dalton's right. There's just not a ton of marketing that just happened in general. I mean, I only chase stories down about it because I'm nerdy and I like this stupid crap.
Fair. Couple comments. Devin says, how much should NASCAR increase the in-season tournament pay? I mean, I do think that is it. I mean, I think it was Massie that said this to me. I don't know if it was a private chat or in Happy Hour a couple weeks ago. I mean, like, the All-Star race was $1 million in, like, 1998. Mm-hmm. It's 2025, and it's still $1 million. And there is a thing called inflation, whether we like it or not. So I don't know why they haven't switched that, but, I mean, in my opinion, they should. I won't go as bold as James Krause says, put the winner in the playoffs. That's a little much for me. Maybe give them like 5 playoff points or something, but let's not. I mean, I know it's a gimmick and everything, but let's not go that far. And then hello to you, Billy. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Thanks for popping on the watch party a couple weeks ago. We appreciate you, bud. But I mean, I do think there's a couple things. One, they got to do something more than just $1 million. I like Massey's idea, like 100 regular playoff points, because I mean that would be huge for a guy like Brad Keselowski. He would actually have to now potentially points race instead of having to go all out for wins, or a guy like Ty Gibbs or something like that. You got to do something like that. I would increase the purse money, and then you can't have your most popular driver be like, "Yeah, I don't know anything about it." I mean, I know he doesn't want to be the most popular driver. Let's just put it out there. You just can't say that, There's stuff that we can't say on this show, or else our couple of bosses, Trey Lau and Thomas Bowles, is gonna be mad about. And
like what, Brian?
I'm not gonna. I'll text it to you, buddy. I'll text that to you. But I mean, there's just stuff you can't say, and sure, Chase may not realize that he doesn't know what's going on, but like you can give a BS answer. I mean, I covered Boise State and Brian Harsin, and he filibustered his Monday press conferences for 28 out of the 30 required minutes. It's pretty easy to filibuster if you want to. So, I mean, you actually need to have your stars, quote unquote, market it, and not just be like, yeah, I got no idea what's going on.
I just want to say that I think the entry into the playoffs, or the playoff entry, or the 10 playoff points if you're already locked in idea, it's very interesting. I don't, maybe not that, but I will say,
Dalton, this is your coworker. You got to be nice.
I'm just let me go through everybody that's left.
Yeah, he wrote a great column tonight. You should read it tomorrow morning.
There is only one driver that is left in the in-season challenge that has actually won a race this year, and that's Chase Elliott,
the guy who won it in season.
The guy who just won. So everybody else is pretty much an underdog. I mean, so I'm gonna read off who's left. You got Ty Dillon versus Keselowski, Bowman and Wallace. I don't know if you can consider Bowman an underdog. Maybe I don't know if you consider Wallace an underdog, but I mean, I didn't have them really making it all the way to the end. Nemechek and Elliott. Elliott, I would not consider an underdog. Eric Jones, Stenhouse, Gregson and Preece, Hocevar, Reddick, Allmendinger, Gibbs, Smith, and Busher. Hamlin's not in there. Blaney's not in there. Byron's not in there. Larson's not in there. I mean, a lot of guys got eliminated. A lot of top guys got eliminated. So I think that playoff berth idea would be super interesting. Can you imagine? I mean, with like 2 laps to go and the whole field needs to pit, and then I don't know, let's say James Smith stays out because he wants to try to finish ahead of Chris Buescher at Chicago or something like that. That'd be kind of a big deal. I think that would incentivize me to race differently than $1 million would.
Well, those guys are on the bubble too. There's a lot of bubble guys in there.
But what James also commented, we put the guy with 1 win who's 30th in the standings in. Who deserves the playoff spot more? The guy that's beating someone 5 straight weeks and has a 5-week body of work, or the guy who rallies off 1 win? I think that's an interesting conversation to have. I don't know. It's tough.
But let's be real. SVG is going to be the favorite in Chicago and is going to probably win. So, I mean, that argument's going to be null. I mean, you never know. So, but I know where you're coming from. But it's
like last year with Harrison.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for no disrespect to Cody Ware could win at Daytona, and he's in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is what happens. You win and you're in. This is the format that we have.
Yeah.
Any last words? We are all good. With that being said, it's been a pleasure. John, you are our favorite. I'm pretty sure you are our most frequent guest.
Yes.
Because we love. Okay, thank you, Dalton.
I'm
glad. Okay, thank you. You had some great articles. You had the article about TNT that was fantastic. What are you going to be cooking up? And then let the viewers know when your next race is.
My next in-person race is Indy, because I front-loaded my season to do the first, 12 or so races, and then I backloaded it to do Richmond through the majority of the playoffs. So Indy's my next in-person one.
I'll see you at Richmond.
That's right, baby. I'll be there. As far as stuff coming up, the next big thing is an article. I sat down with Harrison Burton on Friday, just talk about, getting kicked in the stomach and being sent back down to Xfinity, how he's handled that transition, and then the fact that AM Racing is contending for strong finishes despite the fact that they lose employees, on a weekly basis, which is pretty mind-boggling. So yes, that'd be the kind of like my main next exclusive that I can talk about. I have some other stuff in the works, but that's the main one.
Mr. Dalton Hopkins, thankful. I'm glad you weren't dead there. You are going to be cooking up some fantastic articles this upcoming weekend. Let the viewers know where you and I will be.
Yeah, we're going to Chicago.
All right.
Woo! We're gonna eat some deep dish pizza and some Chicago dogs. The Bears. No, we're going to street race. I am very excited. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and we're gonna have some sidebars cooking, some sidebar articles cooking on after Xfinity. By we, I mean me. After Xfinity Cup Series race, and also I've got an article coming out on Friday morning, so check that out as well.
Devin, I do not want to put that into the universe. We're not talking about the R word this weekend. Got it? Thank you.
They can race. They can race in it.
I don't want to have a downpour. It's downpoured the last 2 years there. I don't want it this time.
They can race. They can race in the rain. It's fine.
Let's ask God right now. God, is it going to rain in Chicago this weekend?
If I feel like it.
Oh,
there's a 40. There is a 40% chance on Sunday.
It went down.
There was a 30% chance last year, though, and look what happened. But on the bright side, the race is like 2.5 hours earlier this year. It's like a 1 p.m. start time. So I think they're getting tired of battling Mother Nature. What we're not getting mad at battling is Michael Massie. And because your
I
calls
am.
are absolutely okay. Fair enough. Well, I'm not right now. But what are you going to be cooking up? You just went to a car or the South Boston late model race.
Yep.
Tell the viewers where you were at and then what you're going to be cooking up on front stretch.
I was at South Boston Speedway. I ate 2 bologna burgers.
Oh god!
Greatest thing on the planet.
Shout out Michael Finley.
Ooh,
So good.
good stuff.
And so the Virginia Triple Crown kicked off. 3 races. It's me. I don't know.
This is the former director of Formula One. He was the one that caused Lewis Hamilton to lose the championship in 2021.
Yeah, Lewis deserved it. He had it coming. Yeah, so I was at the Virginia Triple Crown opener at South Boston Speedway. 3 races: South Boston, Langley, Martinsville, Martinsville is like the Super Bowl of late model racing, and Connor Hall won that. And yeah, it was a great race. It had like 4 red flags. It was like the Atlanta race. It was happening at the same time as Atlanta. Yeah, I think they're probably under red flag at like the same time. Just for them, it was all the wrecks. But yeah, you can catch all the content there for myself and Mr. Chase Folsom on frontstretch.com, as well as the Front Stretch Grassroots YouTube page. That's it for me for this week. I don't really have much else till next week.
Coming up next on the Front Stretch Podcast Network, you got Bringing the Heat with Trey Lau. He's got all the latest news and notes surrounding the world of NASCAR. And then you got Through the Gears coming up on Friday. Wyatt Watson's got all the latest betting odds for you. For John Newby, Dalton Hopkins, Michael Massie, I am Bryan Nolen. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk with you next Tuesday here on Happy Hour.